to come, which actually gives us a chance to pivot to Super Tuesday and take a look at the distribution of states, mostly primaries, other than America Samoa in there, which we probably won't know about until Wednesday morning because of the time difference. But you can see the delegate halls, and obviously, California is the big prize. Texas is obviously a huge haul of delegates, and even North Carolina has a fairly good number of delegates, and that's a state where I think Bloomberg and Biden are kind of competing head to head. Bloomberg has a huge ground operation there as well, but you can see where everybody's going to be focused going ahead. Just looking at some of these states, what are the ones you're watching? Obviously, California, but again, that's going to take so long to report and be able to make any sense of the delegates. But of what we'll know tomorrow night, Texas is probably the interesting one. What else are you guys going to be looking for?
Yeah, I think Texas, and then also I think Virginia is going to be pretty interesting. I think especially Northern Virginia was expected to sort of be Mayor Pete country a little bit, just because some of the demographic trends of the Democratic electorate, I think, favored him pretty heavily, and so that'll be interesting to see where Virginia falls. And then also on that list, I think the Massachusetts fight that we were talking earlier, sort of Warren versus Sanders, and looking at really the geographic distribution of where Sanders' support is going to be. He was holding some rallies in the western part of the state, which would indicate that he's trying to ramp up his vote share quite a bit to grab some delegates from the western Massachusetts district delegates. Additionally, we had mentioned Texas, where everyone's going to be watching that just because that's a huge delegate haul there as well. But also, because they don't use congressional districts, but they use state legislative districts instead, that'll be a little bit interesting, where we're going to be focusing on even more granular data in terms of how those district by district results are going to translate into delegates. Scott, which state are you watching?
California, and I guess we'll probably be watching it, for at least 2 months, probably right around when Iowa figures out whether or not, they should reopen their votes or whatever they're doing over there. Did we note that Pete Buttigieg officially won the Iowa 3 days ago, and then dropped out? Alex L. Dunson, who didn't make it on the stream, mentioned that in our Slack channel the other day. But if you think about that, how more, Iowa's completely irrelevant. And that's just right up there with it.
Well, when he's a CNN contributor, he and Rick Santorum could talk about their Iowa wins together.
Yeah. Actually, that would be an interesting panel. Rick Santorum, Pete Buttigieg, and Andrew Yang just on the side, just, lobbing some bombs in there. No, I guess, obviously looking at California, Texas will be an interesting one, especially on election night, in the sense that someone's calling us a fool for overlooking North Carolina. Well, let's just look at the numbers here. North Carolina has 110 delegates to California's 415. So we're going to spend the proportional amount of time talking about California, given its importance, especially since California and Texas is where you can start carving up at Texas at the state Senate level. So, I mean, it's quite possible that Pete Buttigieg gets 15% in a couple of state Senate districts and gets some basically zombie delegates, if we pull out a term from 2016. Same in California. That's kind of where we're going to pay attention there.
North Carolina point, though, is good. I think especially right now, I think we're expecting Biden to do pretty well there, and I'm interested to see whether or not there's any effects of South Carolina's results on North Carolina. Now, the Democratic electorate looks a little bit differently in North Carolina than it does in South Carolina, but it will be interesting to see whether or not Biden has a good day in North Carolina, because it is a good point to say that there's a large delegate haul. I brought up Virginia before, and they have similar counts. Virginia a little bit smaller in terms of the delegate count, but But that is a good point, and North Carolina is definitely a place we're going to be wanting to watch. I think the focus, though, being on California, just because, especially if Bernie could run up the score and keep a few people below that threshold, both statewide or in terms of the congressional district allocation, for the delegate allocation, it could be a shorter primary than some of us are thinking it is.
So to pay tribute to our tradition here, after we've had a big primary going into Super Tuesday, knowing the results now, knowing what's coming up, would you rather be in this field? And you probably could answer Pete Buttigieg if you want. Maybe that's an NG tape. Well, I don't know. So who would you rather be, Dr. Alexander Pog?
On Friday when we did the Around the Desk, I said Joe Biden, and I'm going to stick with the party line that the establishment always wins. I'm going Joe Biden.
I mean, can we say Tulsi Gabbard? No expectations at all. I mean, she could get 0 delegates, and people are still not going to pay attention to her the same way they haven't paid attention to her for this entire primary. She is still in it, folks. Honestly, Bernie Sanders.
Yeah.
Because I think, despite Biden's surge, if you're Bernie Sanders, you're still going to wake up Wednesday with a significant delegate lead, and there doesn't look like anyone can stop you. And Elizabeth Warren, we didn't talk about. Elizabeth Warren's been telling people for the last 4 or 5 days she's raised $30 million, and she's staying till the end, and screw everybody. No one's going to take it from her. I mean, she's playing like she's going straight to the convention. And, you got Biden out there, Bloomberg's $1 billion here, another $1 billion there. I mean, if you're Bernie, you may not have enough delegates to keep it, to win it outright, but you're certainly going to be the front runner going into a no majority convention.
No, yeah, that's a good point. And I guess my perspective is that our model right now on Ozzy's website has 42% chance of no majority. That is no candidate reaching that majority for the first ballot. And so if I'm Joe Biden, if it's a no majority situation, I think Joe Biden has an argument. Obviously, we're going to be paying attention to what who the leader is and what the margin of delegates that leader has. But I mean, Joe Biden's for sure the underdog, but I don't know, just to keep things exciting. What are your thoughts, Drew, before we close?
Well, since I introduced Alex Edmondson as being on the stream and he's not, I'm going to go with Mitch McConnell. Because somebody has to take Mitch McConnell's side, the poor guy. I don't know. Honestly, I think it's whoever benefits the most from an open convention. That might be, a network president, because I just don't think we're gonna know until we get to Milwaukee and see what comes out.
If there's a contested convention, should we get media credentials and broadcast live from as close to the fourth floor as we can? Someone send us emails and tweets and let us know, because if there's enough of a groundswell movement, we'll do it.